Okay, so this is what it's going to kind of look like. We're going to work on putting all the doors and the windows inside and putting some details on top. Just so you know, I'm going to show you this one. You don't have to do, I mean, eventually, you don't have to do like every square, but you can see how this student did one square and then he filled it in with smaller buildings, thinner buildings. It's a little more realistic than just our complete gridded squares. But he put in some circle buildings. He did kind of square, rectangular buildings. It's fun. It's really fun to do. So if you want to, you can throw in a couple buildings on the side or do something, if you wanted to add to it, put a circle building or something, you sure could. Okay, let's begin. We're going to start with a basic set of windows. Let's make ourselves a top bar here, just at the top. Please pause. I'm going to go as fast as I can. You pause as you need to stop and then move on, okay? So I'm going to try to zip through. I will grab for the side of the windows going down. I'm going to go to the point. And as things get further and further down into the point, they're going to get closer and closer together. So I'm going to go ahead and measure off what I think is a window. And then I'm going to look at that space from this point to this point, that space, and make it just a little bit smaller. Not a lot. You don't want to jump too fast. And then a little bit smaller. A little bit smaller. A little bit smaller. On down through where it kind of just winds up disappearing. Okay, so that could be one set of windows. I like double lining things so that it makes it look like there's edges a little bit more. It just looks cooler. So take your point. I'm going to look at that line. I'm going to slide my ruler out, fan it out a little bit to the right, draw my line. And all I'm doing is kind of retracing what I built, but I'm double lining it. And those double lines just give that nice little framework. It goes to the point. And it looks so nice. And you can do like little reflective lines. That always looks nice. Okay, let's go to another one. Let's draw like apartment windows. These are a little trickier. Well, let's go bar windows. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so go all the way across again. Go to the point. Now, in this one, very important, all you're going to do, we're going to do some erasing in here. You're going to go faint, very light, okay? Can you see that almost? Almost not? I'm going to make mine a little bit lighter or darker so you can see it. But we're going to have to erase part of these, okay? So don't carve it. Okay, so faint. Now, I'm going to say I want my window to be about that wide. Now, I'm going to put space between this section and the next section. There's going to be air or mortar between here, so I'm going to draw my top. This is the top of my next bar. So let me make my bar darker. Okay, so here's my bar window. I don't know what to call it. Just a big kind of a rectangle chunk. And then I'm going to use my ruler as an eraser guard, and I'm going to lift out that space. And I'll go down to the next one. Now, see how wide that one is? I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And I'm going to make it darker just so I can see it. Okay, you just get the idea? And then I look at the space and I'm going to make this space a little bit smaller. So you have to pay attention to the spaces just as you have to pay attention to the actual windows. A little bit darker. I'm going to use my ruler as an eraser guard as best as I can to lift out that guideline. These are called guidelines. I'm going to make this darker. And on down. So look at this space. How wide was it? Make it a little bit less. Try to lift it out. Make it a little bit darker. Okay. And then after a while, it's fine. I don't think they're going to see those little space bar lines. It's just going to wind up kind of going out. It's going to be fine. Now we can double line these again. So I'm going to double line around the whole thing. But I'm going to go like this, just dash, 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 dash. so I don't have to erase those extra lines. Any way to save on your time is kind of nice. Isn't that nice with the see-through ruler? You can kind of see where you're going with it. And now I have all those lines, and I can then go on the bottom. I'm gonna go on the bottom and not really the top, because I think looking down the top, I don't know, maybe we'd see it, maybe not. Or maybe just make them a little bit darker. I guess we would see it. Okay. Okay. You're gonna have to wait. You just give up because it blends out. So there's those. Okay. Now we're going to go and let's just make a whole set of, like, it's one of those wraparounds. Let's make a wraparound with lots of, it'll look kind of like not a plaid, but, oh, let me see if I can find one of these windows right here. This kind of window where it wraps around and goes all the way around. Let's make those. So I'm going to look at the whole section, and I'm going to connect here, and I'm echoing this whole right angle, okay? So make sure it's a right angle. And then again, I'm looking at this section. I'm going to go smaller. So whatever I think this was, I'm kind of eyeballing it. Bring it down. And sometimes it can get weird. Look how it's almost writing on that line. So don't worry about it. Just go ahead and do it. And look at the section. Say, well, it's about a little bit smaller. Not much. If it goes too small too fast, it just absolutely starts looking like they're not very uniform. They're just, all of a sudden, you just change the landscape of the windows, the design of them. Yeah, see, like, that's too much. So I'm going to take that out. It was just too big of a change. It needs to be a little bit, and I'm a little bit. There, that's better. You can measure, I guess. I just don't want to see you pull yourself apart. Sometimes if you get too measury on things and you're millimeter off and you start just absolutely crushing you're just going to, oh, and you know what? You could do it this way too. Look at that. You could just kind of go down on one side and then line it up and match it on the other. That's another way to do it. Okay. And then I'm done there. Now let's make some lines going through. So I'm going to make 4 adjustments. I'm going to analyze. I think it's about right here is halfway. Line that up to the point. Draw it until it runs into the next building and stop. Halfway between these is about here. Line it up to the point. Whoa. And stop. Halfway. Okay. Like that. Halfway to the point, stop at the building, halfway to the point, goes all the way down. Okay, so there's those. You could double line these if you wanted to make them look a little bit more like, you know, they're barred or they have some definition to them. Just always looks really nice. All the way, let's see, I went on the bottom. One thing too is you go through and make your own designs with the windows. You can just Google some like buildings in New York and just kind of look, or Seattle buildings, see what different designers have made. Maybe this, you know, we could make this look like, if you shaded it in, it might make it look like there's some segment, like there's segments. Sometimes, you know how they'll have like a cement, they have this cement construction, there's kind of like a bar between, I don't know. Makes it kind of fun. Okay, you can also use your ruler too to kind of shade it in. You can let it slide along your ruler. You see I did that, and then just move it over kind of a little bit with your pencil. I'll do it again, just kind of make that line and then move your ruler a little bit and make it again. That's one way to color it in faster than just shading it with your hand. Okay, there's an idea. All right, so let's do one more set, and then I will leave you be. Oh, we'll do the rooftop too. So I'll show you those like apartment windows. That would be where you would make, let's just do 2. You could do more than that, but I don't want us to drive drive us nuts, and the video is already getting a little long. So we will go and make 2 panels that go down, and again you're going to want to make these rather faint so that they, because you have to lift out those spaces between the window sets. So it's just like this, but what we're going to do is consider a space in between, and they're going to wind up being like squares going down. So I'm going to say that these windows are about that big to start with. I figure there's about this much space. I'll draw the tops of the windows, and I'm going to cover up that line just a little bit so that I can then lift out these guidelines so I can see what I'm doing. It can get confusing. Oh, see there's a little prong sticking up. You can use your ruler again just to kind of lift those out. Okay, so these are about that long. I'm going to just guesstimate and say it's just a little bit shorter right here. I'm going to look at the space and say I want it a little bit shorter than that. Draw my lines, guard my line a little bit with my ruler, and lift out there. How wide is that? A little bit shorter than that. And here's where I'm losing my ability to see because it's just so far down there. So now we can just kind of like just imply it, and nobody's going to know. They're just not going to be able to see it. Plus you can always, all of this is going to be darker down here, so you might want to, you can think about just kind of shading it, graying it out somewhat when it gets down that low. Okay. All right, we have those windows. Now we can go ahead and just double line around them to make them look really kind of nice and a little more finished. Again, make sure you're going to the point. Boy, it really is easy to just say, oh, I'll just draw my thing. I'll do my, and then before you know it, your lines are off. When I go to grade, or I say grade, but give you credit for doing this right, what I do is I line up my ruler to your work. And hold on, I'll show you what I do. I take your work, I take my pencil, and I just go like this. I just check my ruler. Oops, I want to cover up the name here. Spin it and spin it. All I do is see how those lines over even here, they're lining up. I just spin it, spin it, spin it, and see if your lines, as I go all the way around, look at all those lines are matching up. That's all I do. I just spin around, looking to see if your lines are right. So obviously his lines are right. Now, normally I don't put the lead, I just put the, you know how you can retract it. So I'm not going to be drawing on your paper, but I'll put my blunt tip of metal and just be spinning around and looking to see if those lines line up. So please pay attention to that. Look at this brickwork he did. It's amazing. So he did all the lines for the bricks, and then what he did was he did the brickwork. See how those brick lines, all the brick lines go to the point, and it's the standard brick pattern, but it does go to the point. So please be sure that it's got that, they're definitely going to the point. Now, the nice thing about the roof is just pretty much a straight on looking down at, except like if you make some sort of like a chimney or something, the sides of it are just like mini buildings, just like the ones you built. They go to the point on the sides, but they're very square on top. So let's build some sort of little smokestack or something, or a swimming pool. You could do a swimming pool. I'm going to make sure that first of all, I have a little bit of an edge on my building, because a lot of these buildings aren't just they're not just an edge with a drop off. They actually have kind of a lip at the top. So there's a little bit of a wall when you go to the top of buildings. I don't know if you've ever been able to go to the top of a big building, but they have a small, like a retaining wall at the top that would look like that. Okay, now this one is on the side that your eyes can't see. So we're not going to put this wall, or else it would flatten the roof funky. It would almost look like it got peeled back. So this retaining wall is wider over here because your eye, as you're going by in your airplane and looking down, you can see this side of the wall. You can see a little bit of those two, but you can't see any of that. So that's why it looks a little different. Okay? And if you wanted to, you could kind of, you know, do a little bit of shading in here, just to help the viewer to say, oh, that's down in a deep little part of the building there. Okay, I don't know if it helps those corners go down in a little bit. Okay, and then if we wanted to make that like some sort of smokestack or something, we would just build our square, rectangle, whatever. And then I'm analyzing that somehow these sides might be viewed. Maybe not. I'll check. Would this be viewed? I actually don't think so, but let's see. Oh, a little bit. Look at that. So a little bit of this on that side would go to the point. Okay, it's very slight. Do you see that? I'll go to this corner and go a little bit down. I'll go to this corner. I'll go a little bit down. Now, I'm going to cut my smokestack off on this side. Whatever's happening at the top of this section happens at the bottom of the section, just like that. And I'm going to keep my pencil, and then see how this is up and down? The cut off here has to be up and down. That's why you can see my eyeball. I was like, I don't know if I see it, because look how it is so minute. Barely see any of it. So I'm actually going to shade that I can see and call it good, because it's so slight. All right, there's my thing. I think I'm going to throw some brickwork on it. So I'm going to make 3 paths of bricks. And I think you've done bricks, but now remember I have to go to the point. But you make the mortar line, skip a section, make a mortar line on the next one. You'd skip a section, make a mortar line, skip a section, make a mortar line. And then where the mortar line is on where you skipped, you would look at the brick and do a half here, look at the brick, do a half here. So line it up. Brick. You may know this, but you know, just in case you don't. Let me show you on flat really quick. I'm just gonna sketch it. So bricks, just in case. Bricks are never like a grid. You know that? You've built with Legos, right? You never build your Legos in a big, you never build them like this, or else they start acting like fingers. They fall apart. These towers of brick clicks would just break off. So you make a line, line, a line. See how I skipped? Line, 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 line. And then I find the halfway point of every brick. And on the line I skipped, I'm half, 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 half. Okay, those are bricks, just in case. Because if you didn't know that, you should know that. Okay. All right, so this assignment is to cover all of the areas with windows. It would be nice if you think about some doodads on the top. You can have some fun with it. You can put helicopter pads, or this is home of the giant cheese bowler hat. I mean, they have ads, smoke coming out of things. Even something as simple as, look at that, it's very simple. It's just a square with some dots and making it look like those, you know, those like exhausts that are coming out of buildings. He even made, look at that, it's kind of fun, like a sling cross bridge. You can be a little bit fantastic with it, it's fine. But what I don't want to see is that you decide that you're going to draw like a ginormous tree that has lots of fluff and it covers up all the windows. Please don't get so creative that you're bypassing the whole point of the project, which is to learn how to get things to the point. Okay? Please let me know if you have any questions. Okay.